Good Shabbos, Raptor fans. What's going on? I'm your host, Aiden Moss, with my boy, Oren Weisfeld. Tragic capital L loss to the Atlanta Hawks in overtime. 124 Atlanta, 122 Toronto Raptors. Hell of a performance from a very undermanned Raptors roster. A hell of a performance in effort. Individually, not so much for some, but a great game to watch. Very exciting. Oren, thoughts on the loss?
Thoughts on the loss? Yeah, I guess in the end they just ran out of steam, and they only really played 7 guys tonight. I'm just looking at the box score the Raptors did, so not really surprised. As we just said, OG's legs lost under him, and all his shots were coming up short at the end. Fred didn't even look to shoot the ball, which is rare for him in the second half of that game, and when he did, he was 1 of 11 from three.
Oof.
Scottie brought it. He was really the only guy with energy, I thought, at the end of the game.
That's ironic.
Yeah, but just not enough. Just not enough guys, really, which is, credit the Hawks for sticking it out until the very end and then kind of seeing their depth pay off. But overall, we can talk about what went wrong for the Raptors. Overall, though, I think a pretty encouraging loss as far as losses go.
Very encouraging. I mean, the Hawks were at full cast essentially, and we battled with them with however many guys were missing. Guys stepped up. Wancho had a nice little game. Flynn performed like I always expect Flynn to, and they just don't drop. And finally, you could just see the relief ooze off of him every time a bucket went in. Like he fist pumped every time down the floor, or like big happy clap. And I felt that for him in my heart. I was just like, good for this guy. He finally deserves one of those games this year. He was 58% on shooting, 3 for 6 from three, 3 assists, 1 turnover, fouled out, unfortunately, but he got 20 minutes.
I thought that was crucial. Like overtime, they just didn't have enough scores, and you could kind of feel it going into overtime how crucial his absence was going to be.
Yeah, and a BS final foul call. Like
I got that one too.
Dude, do you want to play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Trey just
really good.
Like he ran into a wall or something.
The Raptors brutal. Absolutely had a tough night from the officials tonight.
They did, and the refs we're not going to go too deep into the refs, but one job they have as professional arbiters is to pick up bullshit like this when it's like the game is on the line and it's a superstar trying to just make something out of nothing, and like shame on them for not picking up on that call, but whatever. Barnes, I'm going to go to,
Can we just talk about the finish real quick because I have the clip.
Let's do it.
This is the last play of the game. And something that shouldn't happen. I think the mistake here is kind of twofold.
So let's talk about the play just for those who are listening, maybe. So OG hits 2 free throws with 3 seconds left, 3.5 seconds left,
and he hit 2 clutch ones at the end of regulation too.
And on that note, OG downhill is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
Okay, all right. I'm excited. All right.
Yeah, I think so. All the attention seems to be on Trae Young here. That he's the one guy they don't want putting up like a half court heave, right?
Yeah. So Thad's denying him instead of guarding the baseline, which is, arguably the wrong decision as well. I don't know.
Let me see Thad. Yeah, I don't know. So they still have a guy behind Thad though. Right? Like a Hawks player, if you're talking matchups.
Yeah, but with 3 seconds left, you don't want to make that initial. It's kind of like a coverage play in NFL. Like if you're covering the deep and you're letting that short shit go, like they should have been pressuring the inbounder personally. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, that's fair. I just noticed what Trae Young did after this bucket goes in. But yeah, I think the problem here is Koloko stepping up too much on Capella. Like,
well, there's 2 guys there.
Drop back. Yeah, but he's the one further back, so he needs to drop back. And
what's Scottie doing
alongside Trae here? I don't know what Scottie's doing at this point in the
Scotty's fully out of the play. Okay, so look where he is.
Starts at half court.
So
Yeah,
Scotty
I don't
should
know.
be on Trey. That's the mistake. So Scotty's
Yeah.
slow to like get going, and
But
so it's
OG
actually
also made OG also made a mistake because he needs to just let Trey shoot the three at this point. Like
well, yeah, he
nobody's
shouldn't.
denying
Have,
it.
yeah, he shouldn't have gambled.
Yeah. But
Does he
look
do
at
a
Trey.
suck
Look
it?
what
Does Trey
Trey.
do a suck it or what? Is that what?
I don't know what he does. Like a nana nana boo boo. I think to the Raptors bench.
He's
Anyways,
such a dingus, man. I love that he knows that he's a dingus, but
I respect
he's a
him a lot,
dingus.
man. He had an incredible night.
Good for Griffin too, scoring on his dad's team. He had a good night. He kind of saved this team. He got like to your
Yeah.
point about our lack of spacing. He solved Atlanta's lack of spacing for sure.
Yeah, no, he came up huge in overtime, and I think something that was kind of underrated that really hurt the Raptors down the stretch was defensive rebounding. Like he got that one offensive rebound off a free throw in overtime, which you just can't have happen. But there was a lot of times in the late fourth quarter that the Raptors had a chance to kind of blow the game open, take like a 10-point lead, and the Hawks just kept getting these second chance opportunities, and I thought that was a big difference too.
I mean, we really even shouldn't have been in overtime, right? Scotty misses a wide open layup. It should have
Yeah.
been a two-handed dunk. I think if he doesn't hurt his ankle, maybe he was worried about timing. I'm not really sure. Or yeah, maybe he was gingerly jumping off that foot. But we shouldn't even. This game should have been over in the fourth quarter. So that's kind of a shame. I think that's the only reason why I'm kind of sad about this loss is that like it was ours to win, and we let it slip through our hands. That's always tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for that play. Can't find it right now, but at the end
Other
of the game,
other
uh,
contributors, Thad Young was 9 for 12. He had 14 in the second quarter, 4 steals, 9 boards, 4 assists. Shout out Matt Hogg. I finally figured out who was giving me shit for celebrating Thaddeus Young, the trade, the acquisition. Thad in the last 4 or 5 games has been huge for us. And so I'm celebrating that acquisition. I'm celebrating the acquisition. He has really like stepped up and been an integral like tertiary kind of player for us. He's been where he needs to be for loose balls, for rebounding. He had 4 steals tonight. He's just kind of all over, and he has his hands on a lot of these plays, even when the stats aren't showing up for him. So
yeah.
that's great to see.
Anyone who didn't like that trade is just a draft analytics nerd, so I don't really pay attention to them. But we said it at the time; it's a good trade. Um, Thad is amazing because also I like that he can play the center, but also play the four with like beside Koloko, like he did most of the time tonight. And that's the other piece of this deal, right? Like the Raptors, if we want to talk about the trade, they moved back 10 spots in the draft to get Thad Young, re-sign Thad Young, and they draft Koloko. And I thought Koloko was really, really good tonight. Like
Yeah.
early in the first half, the Capella Trey pick and roll was just eating the
Yeah,
Raptors
he
alive,
really
lob
solved
after
that.
lob. Yeah, exactly. He came in and he just was the one guy with the kind of length. Even though he like his pick and roll footwork still leaves a lot to be desired. He often makes mistakes. It just his size is just a game changer when it comes to those lobs, and he can kind of play both the ball handler and the lob threat. And he did a really good job taking that away. He had a couple huge offensive rebounds late in the game, 4 blocks. Like he's still a rookie, but he's playing 30 minutes a night. This is going to be really good for him down the line.
Yeah, he is. Someone mentioned our depth. Like he attributes to our depth, and it's not going to be consistent. But it's nice that we have somebody that we can defensively throw out another look at. You know, it's like you're saying, we're getting eaten alive on those pick and rolls, and he's breaking up those lobs. And then he's on the offensive glass. He's active. He leaves a lot to be desired as far as finish goes, or having any sort of being any sort of offensive threat. But we saw in last game, Freddie making use of him as a lob threat. Like he brings a dynamicy to this team that we have lacked. And so yeah, he had a pretty solid. But yeah, like our depth generally just. Guys who keep stepping up, and this is so rare for us in the last couple of years to experience. Where we're used to like hoping that Svi or Yuta is going to do something, or Flynn, and this year like it's been a pleasant surprise.
Well, Yuta is leading the league in 3-point
I know.
percentage.
I never wanted to let you to go. But
I didn't
he
either.
did also
But
not necessarily answer the call when we needed him to
yeah, that's
last year.
fair.
So, we saw less of Wancho in the second half. I feel like, which was, I guess that had more to do with like Flynn's
And
success.
Koloko.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Wancho had good minutes as well.
really good.
Um,
No, for sure. I tweeted that out during the game. Like the depth of this team stands out, and really like credit. I wanted to say this actually too because I think I was wrong. I mean, I don't want to say I'm wrong because
it's
they
okay, man.
lost
You
the
can admit
game.
it.
Yeah, like they lost the game, but I did say when Siakam got injured, the Raptors are going to have a really tough time at, kind of making up for his absence. And maybe I over exaggerated that. I think I over exaggerated that because the depth is there and the collective like IQ and coaching, I think, is so good on the Raptors that they kind of have been able to transition from this Siakam heliocentric team to like all these other guys chipping in and the offense. I think they're actually like sharing the ball better without Siakam
They
in terms of
are.
the assists have gone
They
up,
are.
right? Yeah.
And
Yeah, which
without
makes
Scotty,
sense.
I think like Scotty was magnificent tonight as far as
Yeah.
passing goes. He had 9 assists, which is a lot for him. But the last, actually, we'll get to Scotty. But the last couple of games, I haven't felt like the ball has stuck with him. But the second unit or some of these guys that are moving into the starting lineup have really
Yeah.
greased the wheels on our passing and ball movement.
Yeah, like Wancho and Thad are both guys who are not going to hold the ball for more than like a second. They're going to get off it or they're going to
Auto too,
drive. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like the Raptors front office just did such a good job this offseason with you think about Wancho and Otto, who are two good shooters who move the ball and just fit in. Boucher and Thad re-signing those guys to friendly deals, and then Koloko is the draft pick. Like, I think it was a hit of a summer. There aren't any misses there. It feels like to me, so credit them for that. Let's talk about Scotty though.
What did you think about Scotty tonight?
Yeah,
Temper,
well,
you want to go through the line? He was 10 for 20. No, sorry, 11 for 29. That's got to be a career high in shots. Got to be.
probably,
4 for 8 from
probably.
3, 2 free throws, 11 boards, 9 assists, one shy of a triple dub, a
Yeah,
steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. He's -1, 28 points. Like, you're not mad about that. That's for sure.
yeah. So this is the final play of the game, and I'm not showing it to hate on Scotty because I have good things to say about him.
No, it
But it was
happens.
a
Well, I
funny,
have things to hate on Scotty, but not because of this.
yeah. It was a funny like ending of the game. Um, Scotty, yeah. So there's like the fan base seems to have like freaked out about Scotty temporarily because he's in the shooting slump, and there was these games with on the road trip, especially like OKC and Detroit, where he just wasn't performing very well, and people started kind of taking the narrative like, oh, is this guy going to be a bust? Is he going to stop improving offensively? And so I decided to write a piece about it. So I've kind of been like obviously not about him being a bust, but like about like are these worries warranted basically? Like David Thorpe also went on Will Lou's Raptor show and was talking about Scotty and being really negative in terms of what he had to say about him this season. Just being he basically was like it's clear that he didn't put the same amount of work in that a Siakam put in this offseason. He's not playing with the same kind of energy that we saw him play
I
with
don't agree.
last year.
I don't agree with the work thing, but continue.
Yeah, the work, who knows? But I think like there's always nuance to these things. And like on one hand, there was definitely games this season where Scotty didn't have the same like intensity and energy that we're used to seeing him have. But everyone's gonna go through ups and downs and have off nights. And I think in general this season, like he the only reason I think people are being negative is because there has been times where his workload has been asked to take a huge jump with Siakam out, and he's just not the type of guy who's going to get you like, who's going to create a bunch of buckets for himself and run the offense for himself and be this big scorer. But like tonight, 29 shots a lot, but he is the type of guy who's going to get everyone involved and make the right plays and just like when he is locked in, which I think he's been the last two games, he's just a menace all over the court. He's doing a little bit of everything. So ultimately, I'm not. This is a long way of saying like I'm not worried about Scotty at all. I actually think the process is just fine. The results haven't been there this season. He is missing a lot of, pretty good looks. But
It's the
yeah,
looks that bother me, and I think like he has shown a lot. Personally, as Samson and I were arguing about this over Twitter, like personally, the way I see observing these games is there's such a juxtaposition between energized Scottie and disinterested Scottie. Like it's quite a like measurable almost, like observable, and I think you can't have that. First of all, like I understand he's a sophomore and maybe we have too high expectations on him, but you can't disengage like he has. It's almost to the point where it's like a little bit pouty, which I don't love. And then but then when he is aggressive, for the most part, I love it. But tonight, the problem was, in my opinion, and okay, so and then to address the work that Thorpe's talking about, I disagree. Like his handles are like demonstrably better than they were last year. His shooting has obviously gotten way better. Like the way in which he's attacking as a scorer is so much different than he did last year. So I actually don't agree with that at all. And I accept that he can be in a funk, whatever else. My problem is these like dribbling combinations, especially tonight, these dribbling combination pull-up jumpers where nobody else gets involved. And he hit a couple early, so it was kind of like justified. But especially in overtime, you saw him look off Freddie multiple times. Freddie like ghost screened him, didn't get the ball, and then Scottie calls him back for a screen, and Freddie's like, "What the fuck? I just ran the play for you." And like that's to me problematic where you go from 0 to 1,000 because this isn't your team. And it's not an effective way to run an offense. We've already seen what happens when you run it this way. Like nothing happens. Yeah, I think it was just a missed opportunity in overtime where Scottie just constantly was trying to create something out of nothing. And that's not where he's best. He's best on like a secondary action or like, getting the ball off a driving kick and then attacking and then finding somebody else. That's where he's at his best. So that was pretty frustrating tonight.
no, 100% you're right. But I just think there's always going to be a transition for a player to go from fourth option connective playmaker to, okay, Siakam's out. Now you need to take 20 shots a night. Like, how are you going to take those shots? Like,
Well, yeah,
yeah, you're right. The shots haven't been the greatest, but it's natural that there's going to be some kind of like ugly transition period for a young player for the first time in his
totally.
career. Even like, at college, we've talked about it. He was a sixth man who's a point guard. He's never been this scoring dominant guy. So asking him to do it is going to be a transition in terms of the shots. And like, yeah, I'm writing this piece and it's like I started it talking about like there was the OKC game. He takes like 3 shots in the first half. He looks disinterested. Everyone's complaining on Twitter. And then he comes out the third quarter and Josh Giddey's been on him all game. He just starts pounding Josh Giddey inside. Did you see this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes like Giddey again and again and again. He gets 3 straight buckets. He gets to the line 4 times. And he's like, see, this is the Scottie we want. And I understand that from like it makes sense logically, but you can't ask a player to do that all game. It's just unrealistic, right? Like NBA players, unless you're like a post up big, they're not going to drive it into someone's body again and again and again. You know
Well, why
this, you play
not?
basketball. When you get tired, you shoot a jumper. You just
Yeah,
do it. It's just a natural thing. Like
but yeah,
he's a
yeah.
human. I don't
I
know.
don't. I don't know. I don't agree with that because like I wrote it on Friday. Like Thaddeus Young, for example, he's hit the low post frequently for his rate of doing so in the last couple of games, and it happened I think 3 times in that Pacers game. I want to say he took guys down to the block, pounded him out, and just did his little flick and bingo bango bongo. And it's because he found the matchup, exploited it, and was just like, and this is what the NBA is about. It's about spamming something until the defense adjusts, and then you counter, and then they counter, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think Scottie knows that he has like this power advantage over opponents. Like you see it when, tonight when he's like, emphasizing that that he's huge, whatever else. Like he knows that he's stronger and bigger than everybody, and yet he doesn't choose to like spam those options. And Samson, that's what Samson and I were arguing about, and he's like, well, defenses adjust, whatever. But to your point, why wasn't he hammering Giddey down low in the first quarter and forcing Oklahoma to adjust? Instead, he waited to the third quarter to suddenly get his second wind or whatever else. Like that's the part that really confuses me.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume the coaching staff said something at halftime about it, about the matchup and how he has to dominate it. But yeah, to your point, he is smart enough to know that like he has a mismatch from the opening quarter. To me, again, it's just like you're right, it's the NBA and all that, but it's just a human, like a natural human inclination to settle. Like at times, you're not. It's exhausting to take it into the post every single time, or to go at a guy's chest again and again and again. And he's young, like Thaddeus Young. The guy you're using as an example is a 15-year vet. So I
Yeah.
have no doubt that Scottie's going to get there. I think there's been a lot of encouraging signs this season in terms of his long-term growth. You mentioned the shooting. That's a huge one. But yeah, he is a little bit immature, I would say, in terms of being that primary guy right now.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying is that I understand he's young. I understand he's like, still figuring things out. But he's also super intelligent for his age and the way in which he plays. And you've seen him do it where he walks guys down and just goes up over them time and again, and then he goes away from it. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like I feel like that, in addition to the fact that on defense he doesn't seem to be always be locked in, is that it kind of looks like sometimes he fades in and out. Anyway, it's kind of irrelevant because tonight that wasn't the problem.
No, the last two
You know?
games he's been great. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that there's a difference between intelligence and like maturity, and I think he is a little immature in that he still wants to play the game that he likes to play. He likes to be a point guard. He likes to take jumpers, like these are the things he likes to do. And there's a maturity in doing the things you don't like to do because they're better for the team. And yeah, I think he's working on that.
Yeah. I mean, all signs point up. I'm not I'm not stressed about Scottie or anything. If anything, it's just my expectations are higher for him because I just think he is so incredible at what he does. And I've never seen somebody so severely hurt their foot or ankle so
He's young.
often,
Yeah.
and then just like heal and come back. Like it's quite crazy. Obviously it hurts a ton, but it's structurally fine. It's something I've not really seen before.
I think it's actually really important because of how it like often, like there's these ADs, Paul George, guys who are just constantly getting injured, and you say they're so good, but they're always getting injured. Like Scotty has already proven to me after what Embiid stepping on him in the playoffs and him coming back a couple games later, he is like an Iron Man. He's one of
Yeah.
those Giannis's of the world who, unless it's like a fracture or a tear, he can play through it and still look like himself. And I think that's really important in like a franchise guy.
Can we just be clear about this stuff about like people freaking out? No one's freaking out. People are just being analytical about what they're observing. It's not binary. It's not like you can't say anything critical or it's like red alert. It's just like within the game you're observing things and highlighting them and trying to figure out what's going on. That's all. Let's move to Freddie because he had a
So
tough game, huh?
so bad.
He did look out of sorts. Defensively, he didn't have his same like bear trappian kind of like aggression on. It seemed he seemed like a little bit slower or a little bit more reticent to be the aggressor like he usually is. And this is coming from somebody who bet the over steals prop on Freddie and didn't really see that kind of typical Freddie action. And then of course he was 1 for 11 from three. 4 for 18 overall. He did have 6 free throws. It was nice to see 5 assists, 2 turnovers, but he's minus 16, a team worst in 44 minutes. He definitely did not look himself or just had an off game. What would you say, Oren?
I don't know if there's that much to add. But you mentioned how you get frustrated when Scottie dribbles the air out of the ball and then takes the three. Like, I've been getting frustrated at Fred for doing that for a few years
Yeah,
now.
me too.
And yeah, like this season looks so good at the beginning. The offense, I thought, with Siakam being the primary guy. And as soon as he went down, Fred kind of felt justifiably like he has to carry the offense at times. And this is just a part of Fred. Like him, the offense running through him, there's just going to be times where he does this because he feels like he can kind of hit that step back three over anybody. And some nights it goes down, and some nights it just doesn't. Uh,
But
so it's not like we learned anything tonight. It just
well,
didn't go down.
it wasn't like he was taking those and missing them. He was missing
Mhm.
wide open threes too. Like he just was just not on, and that happens. He's played
Yeah,
well of late, so I don't know. Like I think that's another encouraging thing to take from this, right? Is that not only do we not have half our team, but collectively OG and Freddie were 1 for 17 from three.
yeah, that's not going to happen.
If you add Wancho and Thad, and Koloko for his one, that's 1 for 23. So that's not good. And if we hit 25% of those, this game's probably done. Um, so yeah, that
And it's
and
not even like you can ask Fred to stop shooting the threes because he
no,
doesn't really have an in between game. Like a little bit of one, but he doesn't really get to the rim, and his in between game is shaky. So it's just kind of his offense. You got to live and die with the three with Fred, and most of the times he's going to shoot it at a 40% rate, and you're happy. And tonight it just wasn't going down. And I thought he did do a good job, credit to him, like getting off the ball in the second half and in overtime. He barely shot it. Like
yeah,
he really trusted OG and Scottie to take them home, and they just couldn't get it done, including that pass to Scottie at the end, which was a brilliant pass. Scottie just missed the layup at the end of regulation.
oof,
But yeah, and OG also shooting 0 of 6 from three. That's not going to happen much
no.
either. I've been thinking about like, can OG be an all-star is a thought that I've been having recently. And he's shooting 36% from three. I think he's a better shooter than this. And so, like, if that comes to a 40% clip, he could really put his name in the all-star conversation.
Yeah, he's not been efficient enough, I think, to get there.
He's been
Like
pretty efficient, man. Let me pull up. I don't know. I've been looking up some OG stats. Like, his points per possession this season, points per shot attempt, sorry, is up to 115. Uh, Points per 100 shot attempts, up from 109 last
what's
season.
that?
57th percentile for wings.
Yeah,
So it's just a bit
it's
above
it's
average.
good. It's not great. That's
But
all I'm saying. I don't know.
yeah. No, I get it,
No,
but people
continue.
have taken notice about the defense. Like, you match being one of the three best defenders in the world with a guy who's averaging in the month of November like 20 and 5 and 3 or something, you know. It's
Well,
possible if Siakam isn't back for a while. It's possible.
I've just been thinking. I mean, also he has like a much greater offensive load. In what was he tonight? 0 for 6.
Yeah.
So he in his last 15, 22. He's like 4 for 22 in his last 4 nights from three. Like he's just not been shooting well.
Yeah.
Tonight was the first night that he actually looked tired. Like
Yeah.
that was I think that's another commendable thing about OG just generally is he never seems to get exhausted. Like you said, he's everywhere defensively. He's running up. Man, that transition, Alvin highlighted it where he started out on the turnover. He was like on the baseline and then ended up with the dunk at the other end. He moves so fast for how like slow he looks. Like
Mhm.
he's kind of like like this, and he's just like
Yeah.
flying down. But anyway, he doesn't ever seem to get tired, which is like incredible for all the work he does. But tonight he did look tired. He
Yeah.
hit the front rim on like 3 or 4 shots in a row, and he still had 27. Wow, that's a great line. Other than the shooting, I think he's there. He's definitely at the threshold of all star. But like I said, I just think you can't be shooting 35% or whatever in the last couple of games. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the 3-point rate is going to come up for him. And you said it earlier. If he combines the 3-point shot with the driving, which is like vastly improved
Oh,
this
so much
season,
better.
um,
That was a great. That is not old OG. Like sidestepping, he's usually his inertia is such that he's usually just bowling into whatever steps in his way. And his balance over the last like 3 weeks has just dramatically improved.
yeah, but he's still doing the bowling stuff just properly. Like he's doing it early on his drives, getting the 2 steps after he makes contact, staying on balance, not getting the offensive foul, and finishing with dunks like he did against like John Collins. He does have both now. He has the finesse drives and he has the power drives, and it's making him really, really hard to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, if that mid range gets a little tighter too, which he can hit, like the
Well, if that mid range gets tired, he's just like Paul George. Like at that point, what are we doing
well,
here?
but
He's
I
like
mean
an
that
all-star
happened in the
player.
Miami game. Like he was hitting all of his mid range stuff. And you're right.
Yeah.
I mean he's not as silky. He's not Paul George like handles wise or anything like that. But
No,
um,
yeah, I just mean like as as well as good of a player kind of thing. Like that's the one thing that's really holding him back. But yeah, I was listening to the Saturday Slam and Jam NBA Athletic NBA show, which is a really underrated podcast. And S tweeted out the he tweeted out the stat that they said. I'm just looking for it right now. But OG is like getting to the rim. He's finishing at the rim more than okay,
oh
here's the
yeah,
stat.
yeah, I saw that tweet. Like,
Um he's finishing at a better clip than Zion and Ja Morant. He's
so the
getting to the rim on like yeah, career high rate, and he's finishing there at 67.4% of his
So
attempts.
S tweeted, for those who aren't watching, S tweeted that 14 players have attempted 90 or more shots in the restricted area. OG is one of those 14, finishing at a better clip than Zion, Ant, and Ja Morant. Um,
Yeah,
and
there was only
then
like a couple players better than him, like
yeah, it was like
Embiid
Luca.
and Giannis. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he's been.
That shocked me because we don't think about OG as a dominant interior scorer.
No, we don't. I'm more used to him flubbing it than I am him scoring, but that's really has been changing. Dude, that cockback dunk he had that he got called for stepping out on the baseline. Did you see that?
Today,
Yeah, he stepped on the sideline when he ripped and went, and he just like he elevated full on, like cocked to the side, like sideways dunk. It was nasty. When he gets to the rim, he's actually one of the best power dunkers in the game right now. Like there's
yeah.
just so much force and strength coming through those crams. Even yeah, yeah.
I will say to be objective, I think
No.
Will tweeted out he turns the ball over one every like 11 drives. So that is still a problem. Like these are only the shots that he has taken. He does still turn it over way too often.
Dude, I would bet the
Um,
over on Chargers on him every game if I could.
yeah, or travels. Could
Yeah.
bet that over too. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's coming along real fast, and the way in which he's doing it, he's obviously not ready for a primary option, but slotting in beside Pascal is like it's a world of a difference from who OG was at the beginning of this year and even last year. Like I was a doubter last year when we saw OG at the beginning of the season and Pascal was out, and it was kind of like OG's like taking a step, and it didn't look real to me. This looks real. Like he looks much more confident, much more capable of doing different things in different defensive scenarios. Um, and he's not there yet, but he's also only 24, and it's very encouraging. And he's 250 goddamn pounds, which is insane to me. Still, I can't really get over that.
He's making it harder to trade him, in the sense that like there's all these star trade packages ideas, and he's always in them. I'm curious to see what they're gonna look like in the playoffs because one thing about OG is that he's never been afraid of the moment. He's always been that guy in playoff series that just shows up uh, in times where Fred and Pascal haven't. And against Philadelphia, he was the one guy last year who they started running their offense through.
Mm.
Obviously, that was partly because Pascal was getting so much attention and OG wasn't. But if if this is the OG you go into the playoffs with and you're healthy otherwise, like that is just such a scary option to kind of deviate your game plan and say, okay, Pascal isn't working, whatever. Pascal Fred actions aren't working. Let's start going to OG in a one-on-one scenario.
Yeah.
You kind of just trust that that's going to get you points.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as trading OG goes, he's kind of generally a top 5 defensive player of the year right now. So it's like his value is just going up and up and up. And if we traded him, I think I would cheer for that team wherever he goes. Like I'm that big of a fan of him now that when I balk at the idea of trading him for Kevin Durant. I know it's stupid to say, but I really do. Like I just love watching OG so much, and I think his potential just continues to be higher than what we're seeing.
Yeah,
Stuff
I love
like
watching
this.
OG too. I will say the one guy I would trade him for is KD, but I remember doing the pod with you and we were talking about should the Raptors trade for Donovan Mitchell. And I think we were on the same page of like KD is one thing, but to trade OG and Trent for Mitchell, I at least said that's just too much of a defensive downgrade for me to make it like worth it. And I kind of back that take. Like as good as Mitchell's been, you can't downgrade the defense as much as trading OG would be unless you're getting like a superior offensive talent. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to do the KD trade. I just don't want to.
Yeah, well, I get that. It would suck to see him on the Nets. That would be terrible.
Yeah, but him and Yuta playing side by side. Okay, we're going to move to the Can-Am Tax Player of the Game. CanAmTax.com is our sponsor, the sponsor of the Wrap Up Live. They do taxes for you individuals and you small businesses out there. So if you're interested in doing your taxes, having them oversee whatever, I don't even understand taxes. If you want someone to go do them because I need somebody to do that for me, go to canamtax.com. Oren, you can do the honors. It's funny, I was watching this game and in my head I'm like, who did you choose for Can-Am Tax on Wednesday? Was it Ben? Or no, was
Banton,
it
yeah. Ben.
It was Banton.
Yeah.
No, was it Banton on Wednesday? Yeah, I'm in my head. I'm like, we might be getting more Can-Am Tax men than I thought we would. So, who are you choosing tonight?
I'm choosing Scottie Barnes. My voice is deteriorating at a
I hear that.
rate. So if you want
What's
to take
going
it
on?
from me, but
Did you party too much or what?
no, I've been a little sick, and I guess it's getting to me. I wanted to show this crazy. Look how high Scottie gets on this block.
I know this is a sick block.
Like he jumped, he blocked it with his elbow.
I know. Well, he's just
Like,
so long.
Yeah.
Yo,
but
where's
he also just timed it up like nasty.
Sahal? If you're listening, Oren's here and he's sick. So, just
Yeah,
saying.
I'm not that. I'm not sick. I just have like it's like in my chest to where like that kind of thing. But anyways, Scottie.
Okay, Scottie Barnes, 11 for 29, 38% shooting, 50% shooting from three with 4 trays, which is very nice. 11 rebounds, 9 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. He really was like the motor of this game, despite there being moments that I didn't love offensively and missing that fourth quarter layup to win the game. He did play well at both ends. So rightfully earned Can-Am Taxman of the Night, Scottie Barnes. I would have I'm a sentimental guy. And when I see the opportunity to give it to somebody else, I would have thought Malachi. Like I'm really encouraged to see those jumpers go down. He had that sick jab and cross on Trey for the right-handed layup. Like that was dope. And then Thad would have been up there too, maybe because he had a very efficient game. So,
but I don't think Scottie got it this season. So I wanna give him some love, and I just think he sets a tone when he
season
plays
high.
with this kind of energy. Like he picked up Trey full court from the get-go, and I just thought it set a tone. And when he plays with that kind of energy and enthusiasm, they really are hard to beat.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're gonna go to questions period, and then we're gonna get out of here because Oren's losing his voice, and I'm going to go out and have some beverages out here in Vancouver. What up? So Shay, 1, 2, 3, Itches. Asks, how would we rate this team, that being Toronto Raptors, handling of Scottie's development out of 10? I think out of 100 is a lot more accurate, but we'll go out of 10. Oren, do you want to talk or not at all?
Yeah, but you go first.
I think I I think I'm confused. The development I love. Don't get me wrong. Like I think they haven't been shy about throwing him out there and letting him learn by fire, and I think he's built for it, and I think it's the right way to handle him. I think holding him back would be a mistake. I don't fully understand everything they're doing and how they're doing it and why. I think there's probably a long-term goal here that I don't fully understand, i.e., the way we've talked about this before, but guarding, primary scorers that are like much shiftier than he is, much quicker, and that really kind of exploit him at the point of attack. Don't fully understand that one. Offensively, sometimes I don't get how they're using him and why, but overall, I think like this is absolutely the right way to handle him, to see how much volume he can take on, and for him to practice being the alpha primary option, because as Oren was saying in Florida, he wasn't that guy, and if anything, one of his flaws was not being aggressive enough. And so Toronto's saying, here, go do your thing. So I would give it a 9.3 out of 10, 93 out of 100.
I didn't know we were doing points, but I was going to give it a 9 out of 10
Yeah.
and say largely the same thing. Like doing a little bit of everything. You think eventually they're going to see what works and what doesn't and err towards the things that work, i.e. not putting him on point guards who are fast and shifty, but that part is still yet to be seen. I think the developmental aspect of it is really encouraging. Even a thing as small as having a head coach like Nick Nurse who encourages guys to take the three. I think you're already seeing the benefits of that this season with Scottie hitting like 35% of his threes. So, yeah.
Yeah. The other question is from Guru Shishya, who's a faithful follower, asking us, what's our overall impression of Gary Trent Jr. this year? Yeah, I mean, he started out well.
He started out hitting shots, but like he wasn't creating his own. It was Siakam was mostly just feeding him open threes. And he was hitting them at a good rate. He's a good shooter. But as soon as Siakam went down and he was asked to do kind of the off the triple stuff again, it looked really bad. The defense hasn't been good this year. The playmaking hasn't taken the jump. So yeah, I think he's a real trade candidate at the deadline because
I still stand by him being six man though, or off the bench. I really think if it's at a point now where he's struggling that I don't know that making that move would be the bombshell that to the ego that we once thought it would be, especially if you frame it properly. But especially seeing how all of these, having Banton start over him is kind of interesting. I'm not saying we do it or anything, but we're seeing guys now that are performing, that are playing better than we thought they would, and maybe it's not sustainable, maybe it is, but I think, yeah, he's definitely underwhelmed.
That makes sense if they want to stay small and quick and play this heavy scheme. Banton makes sense because he's at his best when he's with guys who are going to set him up. But I felt Lewis made a good point on this very show the other day, where he said it was after one of the games where Siakam was out and Trent just shot the ball poorly. He kept kind of trying to create his own shot. And he said that if you put him in a 6-man role, this is more so what he's going to do rather than the catch and shoot stuff. And
yeah, do you want that?
And do you want that? Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I'm not sure I do.
At the beginning of the year I did, and you're right, now I'm not so sure, but I think he also would be a nice accompaniment with Boucher and Precious. I don't know. Maybe he needs more space to operate. I think we are kind of seeing that with Pascal being out, is we kind of had it it's just been that, and that's why that starting five is, I don't think, been as efficient as we want it to be, is that it's just a little bit crowded for the way in which a lot of these guys play. OG included, right? OG has the space to now operate. and do what he wants to do. And that's because Pascal's removed from the equation, and Gary for that matter. So I think there's something to be said for balancing out the touches a little bit. Like, take the touches away from Boucher, give them to Gary. Let when they come out there, keep Boucher in place by doing so. Whereas with Boucher and Precious, for example, I think Boucher thinks he deserves them over Precious, which he probably does at this point. So yeah. I think part of it is like balancing out the starting lineup a little bit, as much as it is giving Gary new breath.
I would lean that way too. I'll be surprised. I'll be curious if they actually do something with the starting lineup after the stretch. But the other reason I would lean that way is because I think the defense is really compromised when Fred and Gary share a backcourt. Like, Fred's a great defender, but he's not defending the post. Gary's not defending the post, and he's making mistakes at the point of attack a lot. So two small guys to pick on. I thought that's really been exploited this season. So you add a Banton or a Precious to that group, or Koloko even. I don't like Koloko there, but Precious is who I would go with. Like, then there's only one guy to kind of target in Fred, and even then it's not an easy target. So yeah.
Okay. We can leave it about there. Liam O'Reilly does ask about what we think about Trae Young waving at the bench in overtime.
I like Trae, man. He's good.
Yeah, he knows.
He's so good.
He knows it. Yeah, he knows
he's a fun villain, man.
Yeah, he is.
We watch the Knicks series; it's fun. He's not like an evil guy or anything.
No.
Yeah, it's all for show.
I mean, bragging about winning in overtime over a severely injured team is like isn't.
No, it's the NBA, man. A win's a win.
There's not a lot to brag about, but I don't care. Like, it's not like Embiid, who I think is just like really not self-aware and is a hypocrite, blah blah blah. I think Trae knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't give an F, and that's dope. It's kind of like Memphis too, right? Like, they just don't give a shit who thinks about what they do at all, and it looks good and it's fun. And I think this is the same thing. I think Trae deserves a pop from one of the Raptors in the next game, for sure. But that's all part of the competitive spirit. So
part of the fun.
Yeah.
Part of the fun.
Okay, we're gonna sign out there just because we're losing Oren's voice. We want to give him the 3 days to get that lemon ginger cayenne tea. Massage the larynx.
I love a massage.
No, but yeah. Anyway. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have an excellent Saturday night. We'll be back Wednesday. They are playing. Who are they playing? Somebody tell me who they're playing. They're playing the Nets.
Could be Kyrie's first game back.
Ooh, let's go. OG is going to do it for all the Jews out there. Let's go.
It could be tomorrow. He's questionable tomorrow, but it could be Wednesday.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, those are always fun games. Are we expecting anybody back by then? I don't know. I guess there's some kind of viral thing spreading around the Raptors, so who knows who's going to go down. I wonder if they're isolating some of those guys.
Yeah, also Scottie hurt is like ankle injuries often swell up the next day, so I wouldn't be surprised if Scottie has to miss a little bit of time. But yeah, we could get guys back too, like Boucher and Gary seem day to day. Also, shout out to our producer Keon Haddad for producing this episode.
Excellent job, Keon. Thank you very much.
So
take some time off, everybody. We got a couple of days to catch up with the other games in the NBA.
Yeah, play Elden Ring like me. It's fine.
Oh, really? Elden Ring?
Yeah.
He didn't strike me as a fantasy guy.
Yeah, every once in a while I get a video game, and then I'm really too old to play them because I'm really bad at them.
Don't say that, because I'm much older than you and I still play them. So.
But are you bad at them?
Oh no, I'm pretty good.
Oh. Yeah, I used to be good, and then I just my brain slowed down in old age. I don't know.
Is it age or is it the reefer?
Well, okay. That's for next episode.
All right, stay tuned. All right, thanks everybody. I am out. We are out. Peace.